The Tale of Madrid. Not a side character, not a sentimental storyline sandwiched between the more well-known characters. The headline itself. 6 weeks after reaching a career high of 29, Alex Eala, ranked 44th in the world, was on the verge of what was turning out to be the most significant clay season of her youth. Fans from the Philippines have already begun to band together. It was a draw. There was genuine enthusiasm that was growing quickly. Then her name simply vanished without a word. Not a tweet. Not a declaration. Not a single one of those courteous, tactful Instagram messages in which competitors express gratitude to the competition and pledge to return the following year. Nothing. The tennis world was left staring at a draw sheet that updated silently, as if nothing had happened, and wondering what in the world had transpired. Look, withdrawals do occur in the world of professional tennis. They frequently occur. Even the most prepared players on tour are exhausted by the 6-week physical battle that is clay season alone. Schedules build up and bodies break down. However, because of everything that was riding on it, this one felt different at the time. This was not a typical withdrawal from a mediocre mid-tier event during a sluggish period of the year. This was Madrid. 4 of the top 5 players in the world competed in this WTA 1000 competition. The second leg of the clay swing that goes straight to Roland Garros was this one. Additionally, Eala's seed window for that big slam was already in jeopardy. Everyone stopped because of the timing. It was made worse by the quiet. And what no one is saying loudly enough at the moment is that you are not simply witnessing a withdrawal when a player of this caliber exits from a crucial draw with no explanation at all. You are witnessing the beginning of a much larger tale. Since context is more important than anything else in this situation, let's actually go back to where it all began. Alex Eala was playing some of her best tennis ever 6 weeks ago. It truly came to fruition in Dubai. With the kind of cool, collected aggression that makes scouts and coaches sit up straight and start paying close attention, she entered that event and destroyed a top that was uptight in straight sets. This victory was not fortunate. This player wasn't surviving on bravery and mayhem. This was somebody whose game had snapped into a gear that seemed truly new, someone who had found something out. She then defeated Srana Kirsta, a player who had just won 7 straight games in the Transylvania Open without losing a single set. 7 games. Not a single set was lost. And Eala stopped that run as if it were nothing special. Then, Coco Gauff entered the quarterfinals, and the score of 6-0, 6-2 seemed brutal when you only look at the stats. The problem with seeing Gauff perform at that level, though, is this. She is ranked 3rd in the world and is capable of doing that to nearly anyone when she is confined. Although there is a distance between Eala and Gauff, it is not a canyon. Eala was preparing for the exact kind of clay season that closes this gap. Next was Stuttgart. She drew Leylah Fernandez, who is quick-witted, really at ease on clay, and has dominated the game since essentially the opening encounter. In less than 90 minutes, Eala lost 1-6, 4-6. It was a challenging afternoon. Fernandez never truly let Eala to establish a rhythm, winning 20 of the first 26 points of the game. That is the kind of loss that hurts, but it should serve as motivation for a player who is still improving. You learn the lesson, take a nap, prepare for Madrid, and then head out once more. However, she didn't return. She abruptly withdrew and became silent, and it was this combination of events that made her withdrawal a legitimate topic of discussion for the entire WTA community. This is one of the factors that makes the situation more complicated than it first seems. Eala was ranked 44th in the world going into Madrid, but that figure is deceptive if you are unaware of the background. She needed to defend 390 ranking points in the Miami Open. 390. Because she made one of the most spectacular runs in that tournament's history in 2025. Jelena Ostapenko was defeated by her. Gauff was defeated by her. Before losing to Jessica Pegula in the semifinals, she defeated Madison Keys in back-to-back matches. That is not an anomaly. At one of the largest events on the calendar, a player is making her public debut. However, she met Laura Siegemund early in 2026, and the points vanished overnight. Beyond its mathematical nature, that kind of ranking decline is cruel. After reaching the pinnacle of your career at the age of 20, you find yourself witnessing that number decline more quickly than you can halt it in a matter of weeks. The psychological impact of something is not, you can simply overcome this with an effective training session. It resides within you. For the remainder of the season, it follows you to every court in every city on every continent. Nevertheless, she continued to attend Stuttgart. She continued to compete. She accepted the defeat. She persisted, which is why the Madrid retreat begs the question of what really happened, which everyone is skirting around. Because a last-minute withdrawal of this size within this particular window can truly only be explained by two scenarios. Either something is going on behind the scenes that hasn't yet been discussed in public, or something went wrong physically, which is very possible considering the schedule she has been carrying. As of right now, neither explanation includes any details because her team has not provided any. And a lot of work is being done by that silence. The classification of a withdrawal is crucial in professional tennis. In the event that the WTA records it as a medical withdrawal, Eala can re-enter that tournament tier the following year without incurring the whole penalty because her ranking is partially protected. For a player attempting to maintain her spot in a top 50 that is always shifting, the math becomes legitimately painful if it is documented differently since the points consequences pile on top of what she already lost in Miami. Which category is applicable in this case has not been made clear by the WTA. Many members of the tennis world are aware of this ambiguity and know exactly what it entails. Let's now discuss the physical reality, as this aspect truly merits greater attention than it receives. The surface is important. Under your shoes, clay is more than just a new texture. At the physiological level, it is an entirely different sport. The slower pace necessitates longer rallies, which means more time on your feet, more lateral movement, and more explosive recovery steps per point if you are 80% healthy. On a hard court, a smart, experienced player can handle that by positioning themselves effectively, staying close to the center, taking time early, and reducing the physical demand through decision-making. On clay, that strategy vanishes. You are recovering across greater distances, sliding into corners, and a single, slightly incorrect action on a surface that grips differently depending on how wet it is can turn a little problem into something that keeps you out of commission for weeks. The reigning champion in Madrid, Sabalenka, withdrew from Stuttgart this year to recuperate from an injury sustained after Miami. Rybakina has already modified her routine at periods when rankings are crucial. Swiatek has also done it. These are the top 3 or 4 players in the world, and they have all decided, as Eala seems to have done, that the dangers of playing on clay are greater than the benefits of scoring points. The distinction is that when they make that choice, the world continues on and a story is created for a day. When Eala takes that choice, it creates something that feels much bigger, and the reason for that is her true self within the current setting of the sport. Alexandra is more than just a tennis player in the top 50. The WTA secured a multi-year broadcasting partnership to place its material on channels that are available throughout Southeast Asia because of her. She is the reason why stadium attendance for her games differs significantly from that of any other player who is rated close to her. She is discussed by tournament directors in the same manner as the top 5, not because of her ranking but rather because of the commercial, cultural, and emotional value she brings to a whole part of the world that she had never before witnessed one of its own function at such a high level. Fans in Manila get up at 3 in the morning to watch every game she plays. Not because they have nothing better to do, but rather because she has established a bond that is genuinely intimate over thousands of miles, something uncommon in sports. She has discussed this herself in interviews over the previous year, being candid about what it means to bear that expectation rather than in the context of this particular circumstance. She is aware that the individual watching at 3 in the morning from Manila is not a statistic. She is a genuine human being who intentionally carries the genuine feeling she has placed in her outcomes. It is a unique and legitimately challenging kind of strain to manage that weight while also juggling a professional tennis career that necessitates continual travel, constant physical sacrifice, and constant honest self-evaluation. She is doing all of this at the age of 20, whereas the majority of players rated 44 in the world never encounter anything like it. Because her performance and fan base belong to a player who is far more established, that truth gets lost in the discourse. She is 20, though. The folks of the player. She is currently being compared to Sabalenka, Goff, and Swiatek, all of whom had times in their early 20s when their bodies made decisions for them. Every one of them. And at the time, none of them were under such intense surveillance. What then happens? Because that's actually where this plot is going at this point. Next is Rome. Being a WTA 1000 event, the Internazionale Biennale d'Italia has the same point value as Madrid. Eala's withdrawal from Madrid becomes a footnote in a compelling story if she competes in Rome and goes deep. The Roland Garros seed discussion becomes much more difficult if she also misses Rome. She is now rated 44th. Roland Garros usually uses the top 32 as the seeding cutoff. She is close enough to move inside that number with a solid performance in Rome. Additionally, she is far enough away from it that she cannot afford to miss another chance. The clay courts won't wait indefinitely. The Roland Garros entry deadline is drawing nearer than it seems since the calendar is moving. The term shocking was not used carelessly by the tennis experts who described this withdrawal. The combination of Roland Garros seed position hanging open and precarious, her last-minute departure from a WTA 1000 draw during the most important part of her clay season, and the lack of an explanation earned the name. Not because tennis pullouts are uncommon, but because of her identity, the goal she was pursuing, and the utter quiet that enveloped it. The loudest aspect of all of this is the stillness. Even if no one can fully agree on what it means yet, it communicates something. But here's what it all boils down to. Over the past 2 years, Alex Eala has demonstrated a strong sense of determination in all she has done. She took flights all over the world to compete in competitions where nobody thought she would get past the opening round. On paper, she won games that she had no right to win. At 20 years old, she stood across the net from the world's top players and forced them to struggle for every point. It doesn't alter who she is as a competitor, regardless of what is going on at the moment or what led to her silence and retreat. The entire tennis world will be paying close attention the next time her name appears on a draw sheet, a level of interest that is only possible in situations like this one. Furthermore, the question of whether she belongs there won't arise until she returns on a clay court under intense pressure, with enormous STT to have.